Welcome back, guys. I am here joined with my co-host. Where's Wolfie? How you doing, Wolfie?
Yeah. Happy Saturday, sir. How are you? I mean, Monday.
Well, it's Monday. Recording on Saturday. I'm good. So today we're gonna be talking about a local band out of Chicago, Bleeding Sun. We're here with the drummer Ken Reel. Ken, how are you, man?
I'm great, brother. How are you?
And fantastic. So you and I, we go back.
Yeah.
I think my sophomore year, you're senior. No, my freshman year, you're junior.
What year did you graduate? 08?
08.
So I'm 2 years, technically 2 years older. So yeah, I graduated in 06.
Thanks, guys. Make me feel even older. I appreciate you both. Thanks so much.
You boomer. You're not that much older.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we go back and taste the music. We had mutual friends. Our friendship more bonded after the fact. I think closer to my senior year, and you were on the outside of like you were usually in the band room kind of thing, just chilling.
I was always in the band room. I was a trumpet player, with actually your wife, right?
Right.
Zesty lady.
Yeah, Lady Viking.
Yeah. I mean, we were in we played trumpet together in high school band. So which is small. I mean, small world, but I knew of you. I definitely knew you in high school for sure.
Yeah, it was the weird one. But
we're all weird.
We're not gonna go in depth about us as much as we are about you. I want to know about the project you have, Bleeding Sun. You could mind telling us about that?
Yeah, so about a year and a half ago, I was on disability, right? I mean, I guess we'll touch upon that sometime today, but I had a leg surgery and I was off, and Clint Lowry of Seven Dust had a Patreon. And so he had like different tiers and stuff, and he was just pushing out like random content. With that, he came up with a Discord chat. So I ended up joining that, and I met some of the coolest people. They call us the Walkers because there's an inside joke with that, which eventually I'll tell about that like in person or something, at a later date. It's an inside joke, so it would take a while to explain it. But so I hopped on there. And he had all these different little, threads and stuff. And one of them was a musical idea demo thread. And I ended up putting a drum track out. And again, it was a simple structured song. I was just like, if anybody wants to riff on it, go ahead. It was just, I wasn't expecting anything out of it. And then Brett, the singer, he's been in a couple bands. He's from Kansas. He's worked with the singer Brett Hessla from Dark New Day. He's worked with some pretty not super known guys, but he's been around the block. So he was like, hey, this is awesome. Can I, play around with it? And I'm like, sure. And I ended up writing part of the first single that we came out with, Suffocated. So from there, it kind of snowballed. And then he's like, hey, there's this kid, Gabriel, he's 19, and the kid's a fucking monster. So he sent him the track, and then he ripped a solo on it, and I'm like, okay, like we got something going here. And it just kind of snowballed from there. And then in January, we all went to Kansas. Gabriel's in Virginia, so we all met in Kansas in January, and we were only going to track a couple songs. I ended up tracking 9 songs on drums, and then here we are, kind of thing. So we've only met up once.
So when you guys got this all going and stuff, how did you go about writing the song process? Like was it through Discord calls?
It was Brett and I were brainstorming back and forth, and then shortly after we had Gabriel come in, and then we were all in the group chat. So we were just sending each other. We had a Google Drive, and everybody just threw in all of the ideas that they had. Brett had already kind of, some of the songs were already kind of fully written, not fully, but like half written. So he was like, I have this stuff that I've been sitting on. How about we use it? And we were all like, okay, sure. And I had a couple ideas, and then Gabriel had his ideas, and we all kind of just, put our spin on it. So yeah, it was very effortless. It was like nobody really poo-pooed anything. It was like, yeah, let's use this
Total
and use
mutual
that.
respect.
And then, yeah. So, but yeah, Brett, basically he's just, everything he touches, it kind of turns to gold. So I was like, he had all these ideas, and he is such a ninja on mixing and engineering and stuff. And so like you hear that production, and that's all him. Like he's got some of the best pair of ears I've ever heard. So
That's crazy. So you guys are what a way to find a band in this day and age. It's
yeah,
we all met up through Discord. It's not like going through the local
we
scene and singing
utilize social
shit.
media as it was intended for.
Right.
And it was like, I'm blown away by it. So I'm like looking back, I'm seeing the logo and stuff, and I'm like, wow, it just three dudes that just met online, and now it's like anybody can make music now, which is, it's crazy.
It's amazing.
Oh yeah.
It's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And for you guys, it doesn't even sound like you guys have only been together that short of a time. I
Right?
posted the song. He had played it on stream. So I went and checked it out and everything and fucking loved it. And then for you to hear that you guys going through other stuff, your other songs on there, and how tight and clean and everything you guys sound together, that's crazy that it's been that short of time with that great of a distance in between. You guys aren't
Yeah.
together.
And side note on that, like, and Brett will probably get pissed at me for saying this, but he's one of the busiest dudes I've ever met. And at the time he was juggling, like he was moving, he was like doing 10,000 things and like during the day, and then late at night he would work on mixing the music. So like those 4 songs that you hear now, like we were all just like knee deep in our own lives and stuff, and he somehow just magically, like, he brought everything together and made it sound perfect. And the thing is, it's not very tight sounding, it's very kind of laid back, and like you can kind of feel it. It's got some, and I don't know how he did it, but he made it sound organic too. And
Yeah, you guys have a very your sound is already well produced, and it's very incredible. I mean, you guys could stand toe to toe with anyone being played on the radio as we speak. Like bands like Red Sun Rising, hell, even 10 Years, or like
What's the radio?
what? Okay, we could say XM radio, okay, Sirius satellite, and stuff like that. You guys have some serious production, and that is incredible. That it's
very commercial sounding. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's stuff that like we've grew up with. You mix Seven Dust with Alice in Chains, Dark New Day, Breaking Benjamin. It fits in that genre,
Yes.
which is normally, like, now I'm kind of like, I don't really listen to those bands too much anymore, but they're still around.
Yep.
And so it's kind of like you hear the influences, but I don't think we totally, like, we're not ripping them off.
I feel like you're not trying to be somebody else. After hearing, like, dude, Hopeless was such a track that I was not expecting to.
It was all Brett. Brett wrote that song. He sat on that for a while.
It felt
that
like
song
an acoustic.
was written. Yeah,
it felt like an acoustic Tool. Like, man, I was like, wow. Like, I thought I was listening to Tool on acoustic.
And the cool part is, I'm not a big lyricist, like that's not my realm, but like I was reading the words and then I'm hearing the music with it, and I'm like, it spoke to me personally, and it's like the message that we're putting in our music. It's like, I think everybody can relate to it, and that's the biggest payoff with me. Like, Hopeless is a very dark song, but it feels good once you hear it, because you're like, yeah, like, I go through that. Everybody kind of goes through that. So it was just weird actually taking a step back and then like tracking the vocals and then reading the lyrics, and I'm like, wow, this,
Now, I
Weird how
want to
music
touch.
speaks to you.
I want to touch base on something you mentioned prior to about your leg surgery.
Back in 2005, I was diagnosed with osteosarcoma, which is a very aggressive bone cancer, and sort of like the end of my junior year, I think, I started feeling like a weird sensation in my leg, and then like months later, it turned into like aching and pain. So, a couple trips to the doctor, they're like, "Here's an naproxen. You probably twisted it or something," because I was in marching band and all that, so I was very active but then it got worse, and so we ended up getting an x-ray, and then from there I had to do a bunch of chemo. And I mean, DJ, you probably remember like seeing me like 100 pounds lighter, and just like people at school thought I was the albino kid. I don't know if you knew that. And yeah, it was, I mean, I made it, I think I was only there for like the fall semester, and then I really got sick, and so I had to get homeschooled. I only had to do like a couple classes. I put myself in a good position where I was able to graduate, so I did that. That was rough, so I had to get reconstructive surgery back then, and then since then I've had 6 surgeries.
Oh wow.
That like the cancer never came back, but the hardware always failed. So me trying to, like, every couple of years, it's been stop and go. And this last one has been hard. Like, the older I get, the harder it is, because it's like, now I have a house. Now I have a wife. Now I have a dog. Like, I have family. So it's like, what am I going to do to support that? So that's where I am now, and I'm doing great now.
Awesome.
But yeah, it was definitely a crazy, 17 years old. So it was like, at the time, I didn't know what was going on, and I handled it pretty well. But yeah, it was.
How is it with
tough.
the drumming?
Oh,
Being a drummer and
so
it's your leg.
Yeah, go figure, right? Wish I was a guitar player. But yeah, it was hard. It was. I didn't learn double bass until after the surgery, because I was always playing on one pedal, and then after the surgery, I was like, I want to use double bass, and then now it helps for real. It helps me a lot. Like I have to play a certain way, but yeah, it was hard. And a couple years back, I had a lot of scar tissue build up, and I couldn't bend my leg at all. So I went like 5 years without playing, and then it wasn't until when I had a last bout of cancer a couple of years ago. But during that time off, after I beat that, my wife was like, "Why don't you get your leg fixed? You can't be walking around with a stiff leg all the time." So I'm like, okay. And I'm glad I did, because now I can bend at 90 degrees and I can play again. So props to my wife.
I wanted to touch base on your story, for you to tell your story, because you actually have a very, in a way, I would say a Cinderella story, almost, as it would be, because of the struggles and the heartaches, and then to come back, and then to be in a band that, I swear to God, you guys are incredible, and I want other people to find you, and because your music, man, it's good. It's fucking good.
Thank you. Yeah, I am very blessed, and I have this attitude of like, don't look behind you, you're not going that way, kind of thing. And somehow I like inadvertently just take things like, okay, like certain things catch up to me. Like anxiety is one of them. Like I've been experiencing, like for a while I was afraid to admit it, and then my wife, she's kind of got it, and she's like, you have panic attacks, and I'm like, no, I don't worry. And it's like, then I started finding out what they actually were, and I'm like, yeah, I don't like this, and it's stuff that like I'm always moving forward, which is good. But if you don't take the time to like process, you get in your own head, you start thinking of stuff, you start becoming bitter, you start becoming like resentment. Like I had a lot of resentment towards life for a little bit, and being at home the last year and a half before I went back to work was like, I'm grateful for the time off, because I was able to find Bleeding Sun and that whole thing. And now I'm back to work, which is nice. And now I have this balance again. It's just like, okay, we'll just keep pushing forward and we'll handle things as they come. And I've accepted a lot. The cancer stuff, it's a lifelong journey with cancer. It doesn't, you may beat it, but like, you ask my wife and I, like, anytime I'll have like an ache or something, we're kind of like, well, what is that? You know, like, are you okay? You know, it could be kind of scary.
I saw that you guys had the Twitch, and it was actually something I brought up to Zesty. I'm like, are they gonna, what's the plan with that? Because that was one of the first things I was thinking. I didn't know you guys were so far spread out. But then, so yeah, you guys have looked into doing the setup and doing a live stream, because a lot of bands are still doing that right now, and you don't necessarily need to tour these days. So that was something you guys had talked about and thought about, and just kind of set up in a space and do the cameras thing, because I think that would be fucking amazing. Because when you guys are some of the, like, the live videos of you guys, the guys doing the guitars and stuff, and bass and guitar, that would just be cool. Even having you guys go do that live stream. I know you guys kind of did that a little bit already in some of your YouTube videos, but see it done live and breaking down the songs while streaming it, I would thought would be kind of cool. And a little bit different. So, you know, you're not seeing that, and you guys interacting with the chat right then and you know, in real time. There we go. Words are hard.
Again, there's so many things that we want to do. It's just right now it is hard. We're all trying to, survive in our own personal lives. But I did mention doing a live stream. I don't have any drum mics, so my next investment for me is to I want to start doing like real drum playthroughs instead of syncing up the music and using my iPhone. And I'm not the biggest tech person. You can ask the other guys. I learned from them because they're more hands-on. I'm more of just like, I have ideas, I just can't execute them properly.
So we're talking about Warm, and obviously you have the CD from Animosity behind you. That's kind of the feeling I always got from Seven Dust. So, and I think Zesty even said that's kind of an influence from you guys, is that warm, more organic feel to them. So is that it really is something you guys kind of try and pull from them?
Yes.
And that vibe.
So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to bring that up. That record back then, and again, I like, Clint is very active on his Discord. So like, we always we have a music business thread, and like we always talk about production and stuff. And it's sonically, that's their best. They just wrote like their 14th record, I think. They just recorded it. So
14.
But this one is timeless. It still holds up. It still sounds, it's like the best mixed production, produced album, I think, by any band. And that's just, but that's exactly, Brett and I are huge fans of that. And we weren't trying to go just for that sound, but that's a huge influence of definitely like why we sound the way we are.
Ken, thank you so much for your time, brother.
Everybody, we want to thank you for hanging out with us again on Metal Monday. I'm Wolfie with the very amazing Zesty Viking. We want to thank our special guest from Bleeding Sun, Ken Reel, for joining us on this epic adventure. So till next time, stay metal.